And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her. For no man buys their merchandise any more, the merchandise of gold and silver, and precious stones and pearls, and fine linens, and purple and silk, scarlet, thine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of the most precious wood, and of brass, and iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of man. Shabbat Shalom, Mashpaka, Watchman Yirmiyahu, Qadashayam of Yasharal. It's very early here. Actually, it's already after 4:30. I woke up at 3:30 with no alarm, just because of my new work schedule, I guess. Anyways, I was just listening to a program. I'm going to share some of it with you, but first let me just tell you guys, like I've been saying since March 11th of 2020 that the 7-year tribulation had begun, and a lot of people were listening and paying attention at that time because everything that was going on with the Rona and cities on fire and lockdowns, everything. But then I guess here recently, the past couple years, even with the rollout of the AI and huge data centers that are going to suck up all the water and all the electricity, which means they have to utilize whatever fuel source is required to generate that. I even heard probably a month ago that they were building a data center in Utah that was going to use more power than the entire state of Utah. Okay, and I made a comment on someone's post just the other day that they, meaning the masses, will sacrifice to devils. I did a video on artificial intelligence. It is unclean. It is an abomination. It is like a Ouija board on steroids. But even more so, like it's going to teach the doctrines of devils. It walks and talks and speaks the doctrines of devils, right? Deceiving people. It's a lot. There's so much to talk about all the time. But, I said they will sacrifice to demons what humanity needs to sustain itself. They're basically going to deprive their own selves of what they need to survive. And yeah, man doesn't really need those things, but modern day man does, because he don't know how to do any of the stuff that his ancestors knew how to do. And when push comes to shove, they're all piled up in these cities. Okay, Yahuwah already told me those are buffets for devils. They're going to feast off of that. That's why I don't want to be anywhere near that stuff. I mean, because when it happens, you're going to be trapped. Okay, so we saw the signs, the war, the famine, the pestilence. We saw shipping containers piled up off the coast, unable to come in. I've seen huge trains just sitting there, rusting on tracks. It's bizarre, but still people can order Amazon. They can go to the store. They think everything's fine. Just continuing on as always, eat, drink, and be merry, marrying and giving in marriage, because, where are the signs of his coming? Well, they're about to really start seeing the signs. I want to share some of what this man is breaking down right now about the impacts. Okay, we already know about the Strait of Hormuz and how it's affected global oil supplies. I say global because that's their language. No, we're not on a ball, but anyway. But it impacts far more than just oil. And oil impacts even pharmaceutical industry. People are reliant on prescription drugs, which is pharmakia, and they shouldn't be, but what's going to happen when there starts to be a shortage of their medications, or they start to jack up the prices because there's limited supply? Don't think they won't. Don't think they won't. Okay? And we already saw about the Abrith word, or the Hebrew word that means deception or lie or scam. Okay? Demonic. And we've seen the scares and the fears and the reactions, and I've seen it on people's faces when they hear, oh, this amount of people are infected, and they just freak out. It's coming, right? And it is. Everybody knows it is. But I want you to listen to what this man has to say. He's a little slow to get going. He's very knowledgeable in the ways of the world, I would say. Okay, this isn't somebody that we're going to listen to for spiritual guidance and our deliverance. But as far as just watching and paying attention to what's happening, when huge companies like Mobil and Shell and Costco and one of the largest fertilizer producing companies in the United States start, I think one company that he's going to mention reported a $380, I think he said $1 million loss in just the first quarter. Okay, now remember that was before things escalated. It's okay, girl. Shh. What is it, girl? Anyway, so the first quarter losses reported is before things really started to ramp up. And now it's getting more, right? And we got everybody and their brother, all the kings of the earth are going to jump in. I've been telling you guys, look at Psalm 2. All the kings of the earth conspire together to make war with Yahuah and his Hamashiach, Yahusha. And we also know with Yashar'Al, if you look at Psalm 83, okay, they go together. Everything in the scripture goes together. But anyway, sorry that I'm long-winded, but those who really want the meat can endure for the truth. Stop being entertained and amused by every little fancy video and image online. And most of it's AI. It's sad. Okay, here we go.
I got an email from a friend. So let's see. The Mosaic Mining Company, they also are involved. They mine gypsum. They're actually about 20 miles north of me, where I live, and they just put out a call on fertilizers, because they're involved with fertilizer production, and that's based upon using urea and the nitrogen that comes from Russia. They said, to put it simply, there's not going to be enough phosphate to meet global demand. The company has built up inventory and plans working capital release, so that means we're going to be selling at elevated prices.
And also just want to say, it sounds like their strategy is to sell the raw materials that they have on hand at a high price to offset their losses. Okay. And the other day I was listening on here, and there was this family, I don't remember what country they were in, but they produce rice. And the lady is in great despair because she's been crunching the numbers forwards and backwards, in and out, through and through. And she's, rather than making a profit, which their family always has in producing rice, they're not going to be producing rice, because all she can figure is that they're going to lose $11 million. Now, why would they grow, produce, and harvest rice to take an $11 million loss? They won't. They can't. And a lot of people are dependent upon that for food. Okay, I don't remember the volume of rice that they produce, but I know that people rely on food production. Okay, like I said, people aren't growing their own rice. I mean, there are here and there, but look at most people in the world. What percentage of people in the world rely on this ships of Tarshish? Okay, the ships of Tarshish, where everything, the merchants of the earth. Okay, and we'll go into that scripture after we listen to this man. But these are like the writing on the wall. Okay, All right, let me let this. So I think this place that he's talking about, they're not even going to be producing it at all because they're selling off their stuff just to cut their losses. They're bleeding.
Uh, the the Mosaic company reported a $373 million operating loss in the first quarter of 2026, driven by this surge in the sulfur prices as a result of the cutoff of sulfur coming out of the Persian Gulf. That's number one. Another one, Toyota has just released a service bulletin stating that you can temporarily use for oil change what they call OW20 in lieu of OW8 and OW16 because the Shell Pearl GTL facility that was located at Ras Laffan, Qatar, completely offline. In other words, destroyed, and we're going to run out of OW20 soon.
Wow.
They also just got that Mobil and Shell have informed Costco and Walmart that they have no packaged product to send them. You go to the automotive lane and they got the packages of oil for those do-it-yourselves on oil change. That's coming off those shelves up there. So it started. The shortage.
Wow. So now think about the implications of that. Toyota, a massive manufacturer of vehicles, obviously telling their customers now that they can start using a lower grade of oil than what's already recommended because it's not going to be available and they have no choice. And I mean, obviously people are going to be putting in there whatever they can get their hands on because they're not going to be able to get all the best synthetic one, this and that, whatever. Right? It's not even going to be a matter of price. It's going to be a matter of availability. It just ain't there. And companies, transportation companies, shipping companies, man, you name it, everything, right? The whole world runs on the oil. You understand? Ships, planes, trucks, trains, electricity, everything relies on these quote unquote fossil fuels. Okay? And don't think that this stuff is not orchestrated and by design. It's very coordinated. It's crafty. Okay? But you should be able to see that it's coming and understand that it's coming. And then as soon as there isn't things available for the people to get that they're used to, and they start to become very, very hungry and their children are starving and they don't know what they're going to resort to whatever means they can. You understand? They won't withhold the shedding of blood to get for themselves. They will absolutely look out for themselves. And I've been saying on my videos for 7 years now, they'll kill for a can of corn. Okay? And I think everyone knows that. I think that that's a pretty easy thing to discern. So where are we in the timeline here? So it's May 13th, 2026. We're at what, 6 years and 2 months approximately. And my understanding would be that it's 7 years cut short by a season. A shortened season. Everybody should know what a season is. Muadim, it's going to be, a quarter of a year. So it's, it's approximately 3 months. So, if you take the 3 months away from the 311, then I said, you're going to end up somewhere near that December mark. And it's kind of interesting when you start thinking about all the significance of the December 25th in the timeline. I'm not trying to name dates. I'm just saying things that I'm seeing. Okay. I'm just your brother. And but if you cut short 3 months from there, you go back to September, which also stood out to me because of, the 9 and the 1 and the 1 and the significance that's there. Okay. I don't really give a darn about all this 3-3 and 1-7 and 8-8 and all that, but I can tell you that the enemy does. And, you know, even when I was driving around, Abba put it so heavily into my observation and into my ruh, into my spirit. And I was seeing 88 everywhere. And of course, obviously 33. That didn't surprise me. I expect to see that everywhere. Traveling around the country, looking at mile markers and exit signs and blah, blah, blah. It's everywhere. Okay, so I don't think the timeline is wrong. And some people are like, oh no, we got a lot longer. 2030, 2033, 2038, and all this big crazy stuff, you know, because they think that we have to see robots walking around unaliving people for years or something. I don't know. Everything is ramping up faster and faster and faster. Okay? So like I said, it's like if you drained a tub, you'll see the water going down. You'll notice that it's getting lower, but it won't seem like it's racing. But when it gets down to the very end and you start to see that whirlwind in the drain, that circle in the drain, it's going faster and faster and faster. I don't think you're going to be doubting as much when that starts to happen, right? The closer that we get to September, like I said, it's only May. June, July, August. It's going to get really, really crazy. There's not going to be the crop availability, the fertilizer, the gas, the oil, I mean, nothing. And people aren't going to know what to do. And it's going to be too late to try and grow something. Or everybody, you need to get right with the Most High. You need to find the corner of his garment and grab onto that thing and do not let go. You need to keep that oil in your lamp, right? Okay. I wanted to talk about the ships of Tarshish, and so let's do that. Shalom. Okay, family, and you know, I want to share with you, guys. Obviously, you've seen the intro and the thumbnail, ships of Tarshish, right? So, a connection between what some people think is just some ancient Persian merchants and literally the modern day global economy that is designed to crash and fail by powers that are greater than just man. Okay? Wicked Ruach, wicked spirits, demonic entities, fallen angels, etc., etc., etc. You know, and I just also want to say, like, I saw a video. Maybe I'll put it in here. I don't know. But the king is like completely mad. Like he's just babbling. Okay. Even though I think that most of the people that worship him won't even care or see it, or they'll excuse it. In fact, they'll probably go to war. You know what I mean? And I don't mean just fisticuffs. Like, I mean, it will get a lot worse. And their loyalty to that entity will result in the shedding of innocent blood. And I'm talking apart from, you know, a declaration of war or king against king armies, that kind of war. I'm talking about just, hey, what are you doing growling at him? That's like your brother. Silly. I'm talking about family, you know, friends. All right. Before we get into the scripts, I just wanted to show you guys the clip that I was referring to. You know, the king has gone mad type of thing. You know, it's interesting when I listen to it because I keep on hearing this 10%, 10%, 10%. You know, so we know that Yahuwah has a tithe of 10% of the increase. It's not 10% of your income at a circa, but that's a whole other conversation. But, you know, I believe that the powers, the wicked Ruach that these kings serve, also require 10% of innocent and more for different types of ritual sacrifices that they do. But let's listen to what the king of Babylon has to say as he babbles on and on.
Yeah, please go ahead. Are you concerned about concerned about everything. Look, I can't be so concerned that you can't function. No, I'm here. It's a dangerous profession. You know, I tell the story, race car drivers, I think it's very dangerous. So, if you take 1% and then take about 10% of 1%, just to break it down very easily, they die. So, much less than 1%, 10% of 1%. I think bull riding is very dangerous. If you take about the same 10% of 1%, much less than 1%, but if you take presidents, it's 5.8%. And about 8% are shot at. So, nobody told me this was such a dangerous profession. If Marco would have told me, maybe I wouldn't have run. Maybe I would have said, I'll take a pass. No, it's a dangerous profession, but I don't view it that way. Look, I'm here to do a job, and it's part of the job.
Okay. Ships of Tarshish. Let's move this down here so it's out of the way. Ships of Tarshish refers to a class of large Phoenician-built merchant vessels, rather than just ships from a specific location, known in the Old Testament as ocean-going vessels capable of long voyages, 3 years. They brought wealth like silver, gold, exotic goods, ivory, apes, that's probably a mistranslation, to Solomon and Hiram. Key aspects of the ships of Tarshish. They were massive, long-distance cargo carriers designed for trading, often traversing the Mediterranean and beyond to places like Spain, often called the merchant navy of ancient Phoenicia. So, and we know the concept, right? Nothing new under the sun. So we have the modern day, equivalent to this. Okay? Biblical significance. Mentioned around 9 times, they symbolize both immense wealth, 1 Kings 10:22, human pride, Isaiah 2:16. Trade items, they carried cargo, including gold, silver, iron, tin, lead, ivory, apes, and peacocks. I think both of these might be mistranslations. Maybe we'll look into that. We'll see. Built by Phoenicians for long journeys to areas like Tarshish in southern Spain, which was a major source of silver for the ancient world. While often associated with the Mediterranean, some were also built for Red Sea journeys to places like Ophir, which might even be in the Philippines. But, the modern day equivalent to this is things like, well, obviously, look at all these oil tankers, look at the picture that I have in the thumbnail of that evergreen shipping containers stacked, hundreds of them, filled with all kinds of stuff, all your Amazon stuff, all the stuff that comes, from China and everywhere else. The whole world runs on this stuff now, right? The merchants of the earth made rich, okay, off of this whole system that is going to collapse and fall. Okay, starting up here, chapter 27, verse 1, the word of Yahuah, excuse me, came again unto me, saying, Now, son of Adam, take up a lamentation for Sor, and say unto Sor, O you that are situate at the entry of the sea, which are a merchant of the people, of a multitude of isles, thus says Adonai Yahuah, O Sor, you have said, I am perfect beauty. Your borders are in the midst of the seas. Your builders have perfected your beauty. They have made Aleph Taub, this is like completeness, all of your shipboards of fir trees, of Shanir. They have taken cedars from Lebanon to make masts for you. And start to think about the prophets describing, yes, they have prophecies in the past, but also in the future. And the prophets are speaking of the end times. Okay, and so what's the modern day version of this? The most high quality steel fabricated, running on bunker fuels, carrying more stuff than ever. Like you gotta, they're massive. They're masters of the earth. Okay, captains, right? Wicked spirits leading this whole industry. In a way, just designed to make man dependent upon the beast system, so that apart from the beast, they can't function. If the idea of the beast system collapsing causes so much fear in their hearts, because they don't trust in the creator of all things, they trust in the wisdom of man, the power of man, the might of man. That's why they get so geeked out over like a rocket launch and stuff like this. Okay. Here we go. Verse 6. Of the oaks of Bashan have they made your oars. The company of the Ashurim have made your benches of ivory, brought out the isles of Kittim. Fine linen with broidered work from Mitzrayim was that which you spread forth to be your sail. Blue and purple from the isles of Alisha was that which covered you. The inhabitants of Sidon and Arbad were your maidens, your wise males. O Sor, that were in you, were your pilots. The ancients of Gabal and the wise males, therefore, thereof, were in you your caulkers. All the ships of the sea with their mariners were in you to occupy your merchandise. They of Persia and of Ludi and of Put were in your army, your males of war. They hanged the shield and the helmet in you. They placed forth your comeliness. The males of the Arbad with your army were upon your walls round about, and the Gamadim were in your towers. They hanged their shields upon your walls round about. They have made your beauty perfect, and are bragging about all their might, right? Tarshish was your merchant by reason of a multitude of all kinds of riches. With silver, iron, tin, and lead they traded in your fairs. Yaban, Tubal, Meshach, they were your merchants. They traded the persons of Adam, that's human trafficking, and vessels of brass in your market. It hasn't gone away. Like I say, you guys, I've said it a multitude of times. It's literally like the oldest profession to become rich off of trading slaves for labor, for sex, for just for even the adrene, right? Verse 14. They of the house of Tagarma traded in your fairs with horses and horse riders and mules. The males of Dedan were your merchants. Multitudes of isles were the merchants of your hand. They brought you for a present horns of ivory and ebony. Aram was your merchants by reason of the multitude of the wares of your making. They occupied in your fairs with emeralds, purple, broidered work, fine linens, coral, agate. It's reminding me of the video I just did on zitzats, the tassels that we wear in the corners of our garment. The colors that I chose were because they were the colors of the tabernacle in the wilderness. So it's a remembrance of that, as well as guarding the commandments. And I chose to hire someone to do it who already does that type of work, because it's someone who's skilled in that craft. Just like in the temple in the wilderness, they use the engravers, the metal workers, the carpenters, all the people who had like gifts from Yahuah to do different types of works. They're the ones that they would use to do it. And this is kind of the same thing. When you think about it, like you order, if you want, I'm going to probably mess some of this up, but like people who want wine, they want like wine from California, or they want it from Italy, or certain places. Certain places specialize in certain types of things, and then the whole world tries to consume that, if that makes sense. I don't have great examples, but because I never really cared about all that. But, they'll be like, oh, it's handcrafted in Italy and imported from wherever. But I think you understand what I'm saying. Okay, verse 17. Yehuda and the land of Yashar'Al, they were your merchants. They traded in your markets wheat and minnith and panag and honey and oil and balm. Damascus was your merchant in the multitude of the wares of your making, for the multitude of all riches, in the wine of Chelban and white wool. And it's funny. I mean, I've read this before, obviously, but I didn't pre-read it before I just made those comments. And now look, it just like comes out with the wine of such and such, right? Here's Dan, the one that was not included any longer, right? One of the original sons of Yashar'Al, who's not named in Revelation as having a gate in the new temple, in the new Jerusalem. Dan also, a Yaban, going to and fro, occupied in your fairs. Bright iron cassia and calmus were in your market. Dedan was your merchant in precious clothes and chariots. Arab and all the princes of Kedar, they occupied with you in lambs and rams and goats. In these were they your merchants. The merchants of Sheba and Ra'amah, they were your merchants. They occupied in your fairs with chief of all spices and precious stones and gold. Haran and Kana and Adan, the merchants of Sheba, Ashur, Kalmad, Kilmad, were your merchants. These were your merchants in all sorts of things, in blue clothes, broidered works, in the chests of rich apparels, bound with cords and made of cedar among your merchandise. The ships of Tarshish did sing of you in your market, and you were replenished and made very miraculous in the midst of the seas. It's just reminding me, like I've been looking for linen. I just wanted to at least get one outfit. I would like to have more, but I found something online and I ordered it, and what did it end up being? Of course, it was from China, and it shipped from China, and it's saying it's supposed to get here in somewhere between 3 and 11 business days, and it's like, can I trust it? I don't really know. The whole, pant and shirt, pant and top, I think it came to like maybe about $60 with shipping, which is insane, but, just pull all that works out. Let's see. Your rowers have brought you into great waters. The east wind has broken you in the midst of the sea. Your riches and your fares, your merchandise, your mariners, your pilots, your caulkers, the occupiers of your merchandise, and all you males of war that are in you, and in all your company, which is in the midst of you, shall fall, Baruk Yahuah, into the midst of the sea, in the day of your ruin. Now, that's like I said, it's a prophecy. Was it partially completed back in the day? Yeah, likely so, right? But does it also mean that it's a future prophecy? I absolutely believe so, and I applaud that you do too. I really do. Verse 28, the suburbs shall shake at the sound of the cry of your pilots, and all that handle the oar. The mariners and all the pilots of the sea shall come down from their ships. They shall stand upon the land, and shall cause their voice to be heard against you, and shall cry bitterly, and shall cast up dust upon their heads. They shall wallow themselves in ashes, a lamentation, a weeping, a mourning, and they shall make themselves utterly bald for you, and gird them with sackcloth, and they shall weep for you with bitterness of heart and bitter wailing. And in their wailing they shall take up a lamentation for you, a lament over you, saying, what city is like Sor, like the destroyed in the midst of the sea? So we're going to read about this too when we get into Revelation. You're going to see the mirror, the parallel, the similarity, hallelujah. When your wares went forth out of the sea, you filled a multitude of people. You did enrich the kings of the earth with the multitude of your riches and of your merchandise. The kings of the earth, think of Psalm 2, like I said, they conspire together to make war with Yahuwah. HaMashiach, and Yashar'Al. Psalm 83. In the time when you shall be broken by the sea in the depths of the waters, your merchandise and all your company in the midst of you shall fall. The whole beast system, the whole global economy. Okay, check out my playlist, Armies from the North. You're going to see the 90% of the wicked Ruach Ha'Qadash were enslaved at the time of Noah, and they're to be loosed, as in the days of Noah, so it shall be at the return of the son of Adam. So the key to the bottomless pit opens up. 90% of all the wicked spirits, including some of the fallen who are locked up, come out and are loosed. And Yahuwah puts a hook in their jaw and turns them, that they start to actually make war with the whole beast system, the New World Order. That's why Yahusha said, a house divided shall not stand. That's also a prophecy for the last day. Hui! All the inhabitants of the isle shall be astonished at you, and their king shall be sore afraid. They shall be troubled in their countenance. The merchants among the people shall hiss at you. You shall be a terror, and never shall be any more. Baruk Yahuah. That also proves that, that this is for the end days. Because if it was just the past completion of the prophecy, well, it was again. Nothing new under the sun. I'm sure I've outlined for you very clearly, you understand that we have a modern day equivalent to this. And it's way bigger than it was back then. All right, let's go to the next thing. Okay, it looks like it's giving us Isaiah next. Yahuah 23, 1-14. We'll read the whole chapter. This passage calls on the ships of Tarshish to wail and howl because their port Tyre has been destroyed. Okay, let's just go there right now. Okay. Sorry, that's kind of in the way. Move that down there. So we have Isaiah 23. The burden of sore, how ye ships of Tarshish. For it is laid waste, so that there is no house, no entering in from the land of Kittim. It is revealed to them. Be still, ye inhabitants of the isle, you whom the merchants of Sidon that pass over the sea have replenished. And by great waters the seed of Shechor, the harvest of the river, is her revenue, and she is a mart of nations. Be ashamed, O Sidon, for the sea has spoken, even the strength of the sea, saying, I travail not, nor bring forth children, nor do I nourish up your young males, nor do I bring up virgins. As at the report concerning Mitzrayim, so shall they be sorely pained at the report of sore. Pass ye over to Tarshish, howl, ye inhabitants of the isle. Is this your celebrated city, whose iniquity is of ancient days? Her own feet shall carry her afar off to sojourn. Who has taken this counsel against Sor, the crowning city, whose merchants and princes, whose traffickers are the esteemed of the earth, the esteemed of the earth, the Naphalim, the idols, what everyone worships, for real. Yahuwah Sevaoth has proposed it, to stain the pride and all the esteem, and to bring into contempt all the, I'll say esteemed again, of the earth. Okay? Sorry, there's certain words I don't say, and you guys might not be familiar, but you can check out my playlist on the Pure Lip if you want to know more about that. Verse 10. Pass through your lands as a river, O daughter of Tarshish. Daughter of Tarshish. This makes me think of, Babylon. Mystery Babylon. And all the daughters of her, the harlot that she is, producing all these, illegitimate offspring. There is no more strength. He stretched out his hand over the sea. He shook the kingdoms. Yahuwah has given a commandment against the merchant city. This is against the beast system, the world economy, to destroy the strongholds thereof. And he said, you shall no longer celebrate O oppressed virgin, daughter of Sidon, arise, pass over to Kittim. There also shall you have no rest. Behold, the land of the Kasdim, the people were not, till Ashur founded it. For them that dwell in the wilderness, they placed up the towers thereof. Towers? They raised up the palaces thereof, and he brought it to ruin. Howl, you ships of Tarshish, for your strength is laid waste. And it shall come to pass in that day that Sor shall be forgotten 70 years, according to the days of one king. After the end of 70 years shall Sor sing as a harlot. Take a harp, go about the city, you harlot, that has been forgotten. Make sweet melodies, sing a multitude of songs, that you may be remembered. And it shall come to pass after the end of 70 years that Yahuwah will visit Sor, and she shall turn to her hire, and shall commit fornication with all the kingdoms of the world upon the face of the earth. Ooh, there you go, man. There you go. And her merchandise and her hire shall be Qadashayam to Yahuwah. It shall not be treasured nor laid up, for her merchandise shall be for them that dwell before Yahuwah to eat sufficiently and for durable clothing. All right, let's go back and see what else we got. All right, so what do we have next? Revelation 18. Woohoo! 11 through 19. This passage mirrors the prophecy in Yashar'Al describing the fall of Babylon, a symbol for world commerce, spiritual corruption. It mentions that the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, and every shipmaster, captains, and all who make their living on the sea will stand at a distance and cry out at the destruction of this wealth. And you can think too about the elite of the world, the global elite, all those who profit in the stock market and speculators and all this stuff. They rely on this entire system to basically fleece the lamb or rob. So the scripture teaches us that the sons of Cain cannot produce fruit from the earth. That's part of the curse that's upon them. And so, the tyrants of the earth rely on everyone else to produce everything. And then they take it as if it's their own possession, and they trade, they commodity, they do all this stuff to increase their wealth and to build up this this pyramid type of thing that you see on the back of your money, right? The New World Order with the capstone, the eye of Ra atop of it, okay, which is the return of that greatest wicked spirit, who I believe is enslaved for a season, after probably Babel, the Tower of Babel. A lot of them were locked up. But he is loosed for a short season, and I believe he will indwell the Golden Dawn, if he has not already. But let's go into Revelation 18 and get into that. Baruk Yahuah. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his esteem. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babal, the great, is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul ruach, and the cage of every unclean and hate-filled bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth, ships of Tarshish, are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her crimes, that you receive not of her plagues. That reminds me, obviously, of the 10 plagues video that I did, because, the 10 plagues in Mitzrayim happen, and Yahuwah, did every miracle that he did in delivering his people was also to shame one of their gods, demons that they worship. And I know that I've said that those demons were then locked up, but they're returning, okay? And so the plagues are returning too. It's how Scripture is. It's nothing new under the sun, and everything that was shall be again, and it's all coming until everything is completed, and he says it is finished. Hallelujah, Yahuah for his deliverance. Verse 5. For her chatah, her crimes, her transgressions have reached unto heaven, and Allahim has remembered her iniquities. Reward her, even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. In the cup which she has filled, fill her a double. How much she has magnified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she says in her heart, I sit as a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is Yahuah Elohim, who judges her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing far off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, the great city Babal, which is also now modern day the entire New World Order, the entire global system, the world economy, whatever you want to call it, this tyrannical in prison. That mighty city, for in 1 hour is her judgment come, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buys their merchandise any more. Yeah, it's coming. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, of pearls and fine linens and purples and silks and scarlets and fine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of precious woods and of brass and iron and marble. See, all of Revelation, Hath Galuth, the unveiling, is a retelling of the prophets. If you don't know the prophets, you don't know nothing. If you go to a circa and some wolf in sheep's clothing, who's a pastor trained at the cemetery, just feeds you all this Greek New Testament nonsense, New Covenant nonsense, then you don't have understanding. You can't. How can you? Right? I mean, even worldly wise men will say those who know not the past are doomed to repeat the mistakes of it. See what I'm saying? You need to know through Ra, because guess what? Everything in the Brit Chadashah, which is what you call New Testament, means renewed oath. Everything in the Brit Chadashah is from the old. It is one Elohim. It is one book. Okay? Cinnamon, odors, ointments, frankincense, wine, wool, fine flour, wheat, beast, sheep, horse, chariot, slaves, and souls of Adam. Hello? Y'all thinking there was just this one African-American slave trade and that's over and it ended a long time ago. Boy, you better wake up, bro. Slave trade's been going on since the beginning, and it's still going on right now. It ain't never stopped. It ain't exclusive to just one group. It's everywhere, all over the place. Look into the Barbary slave trade, for example. And I have a video on this too, the lost tribesmen and tripping on the tribes. Okay? I believe that I come from Ireland by way of Yashar'Al through Simeon, who is Shamaun, and the British, which means covenant-ish people, who claim to be but are not, right? Made constant war with the Irish. And there was this guy Cromwell of the Crown, and he would capture Irish slaves, millions of them. I can't even remember how much years it was. A lot. And they would go down into like the islands and do slave labor and stuff like that. And did this thing which is horrible. They would take the young white girls and forcibly mix them with big adult males. I'll just say, I hate to use these colors, but it's for understanding, right? Black males, and they would produce this this mulatto, and it could get a bigger price. It was more coveted because of the color and the eyes and stuff like that. It's really sick how these people are. You need to understand these are the people, and they come in every shape, color, and size too, in every tongue. There's wicked people all over the face of the earth. Are you so silly to think that one type of vessel is clean and the other type of vessel is not clean? It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the root inside, the spirit inside. You must be born again. And the spirit of the Ruach of Yahuah goes wherever he wills and regenerates whoever he wills. And if you call someone unclean, that's his bride, his daughter, you're going to have to deal with him. It ain't going to be well. I'm just telling you. You know what I'm saying? We don't shut up the kingdom of Yahuah to anyone. That's up to him to decide. Okay? And we're supposed to know them by their fruits, not by their appearances. The scripture says it's wrong to judge by appearances. Okay? And that's in John, 1 John, I don't remember. Maybe, I don't remember exactly. I don't want to get that wrong. But anyways, it's there. It's easy to find. Okay. And the fruits that your soul lusted after are departed from you, and all things which were dainty and, goodly are departed from you, and you shall find them no more at all. So now you got to think about the people who are very greedy, very covetousness. They got to have this and that, and they go, I have this and I have that, and it's vanity. Okay, the merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, hallelujah, and saying, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the company in ships, sailors, the multitudes as trade by sea stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, the great city wherein we were made rich, all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour she is made desolate. Sudden destruction, just like talks about in scripture, when judgment comes, a sudden destruction comes upon her. It doesn't have to take forever to happen. Okay, think about a woman in labor and she's having birthing pains and she's having contractions, and the contractions start to get more often, last longer, being more intense, all up until the very moment the water breaks. Okay, then it continues, maybe for a long time, maybe for a little time, and then all of a sudden the birthing happens. Okay? The end comes quickly, but it feels like it takes forever to get there. But when it arrives, right? You understand? Okay. Also, think about all the people who are heavily, heavily invested, and they have these big accounts of stock, retirement funds, all that stuff. What do you think is going to happen when the entire global economy shuts down? You think that money's in that bank is going to be worth anything? You think the U.S. petrodollar is going to be worth anything? Even right now, they're bailing from it. They're bailing from the dollar right now, and they're causing countries to have to buy oil in the Chinese currency, yuan, or however you say it. Okay? It's already coming to an end. It's been coming to an end, and it is going to just freaking break down. The wheels will come right off the bus. Celebrate over her, you heaven, and you Qadash apostles and prophets, for Aluah, Elohim, has avenged you on her. Now think about the seals. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th seal, and there's multitudes of people dying. At some point in there, it says something, how long, Amunah filled and true, before you avenge our brethren, right? How long? And so this is what I'm thinking of right here. This is, okay, now, boom, I'm doing it. I'm breaking the whole thing down. I'm causing them to turn on each other. These demons are going to devour those kings of the earth, and those demons are going to devour these kings of the earth, and so on. All right, and so this is the vengeance that's coming, that belongs to Yahuwah, to avenge all the brothers and sisters whose blood was shed, okay, for their amunah, their faith, and their testimony in Yahusha HaMashiach, okay, Yahusha, the great I am, our deliverer, okay, comes in the name of the Father, Yahuah, the great I am is the creator. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, with violence shall the great city Babel be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in you, and no craftsmen. Okay, look at this is all your song and dance and your tradesmen and your fabrication, and everything's going to be busted up. Whatever craft he be shall be found any more in you, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in you. No more production. No more jobs for folks to go to. No more paychecks for them to cash. And the light of the candle shall shine no more at all in you. Now this is important right here. The voice of the bridegroom, that's Yashar'Al, and of the bride, I'm sorry, I got it twisted. Please forgive me, Father. The voice of the bridegroom is Yah, the great I am. Achad, Al, Elohim, Aluah. Okay? And the voice of the bride, Yashar'Al. So when we go out and speak the truth to these people, okay, or the Ruach of Yahuwah comes and convicts people of the truth, and they're transformed and they're changed. He takes a heart of stone out, puts a heart of flesh in. They're given eyes to see, ears to hear, so that they may know the truth. No more. That's it. Time's up. You're cut off. The voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride shall be heard no more at all in you. Okay, you're sealed. You're done. Right? Choose whom you shall serve before it's too late. Because after that, there's no chance. Okay? For the merchants were the great males of the earth. Now, here you go. Now, if you look at this, mighty males of old, males of renown, giants, Naphalim. Okay, now it's telling you right here who's behind this whole thing. Okay, whether it's Amazon or I don't know who else, all these Wayfair, all these different people, the merchants of the earth, okay, the whole thing. They're behind it all, pulling the strings, orchestrating it. For your merchants were the great males of the earth. For by your sorceries, now you got the pharmakia, but it's more than that, right? What else? The image of the beast. You know, the black mirror. You turn this thing on, it moves and talks, right? The vision, right? It's telling a vision, it's telling a lie, it's programming, it's brainwashing, it's propaganda, it's normalizing hata, crimes, sin. It normalizes it, right? Lust of the flesh, pride of life, coveting, all that stuff. You know, teaching you that you don't need to guard his commandments. Okay, this is all part of the sorcery too, the broadcasting, the spell casting. And then you have, you know, whatever other things cause people to be dulled. Even fluoride is a factor in this. Heavy metals, toxins, and, you know, the pharmakia, and, you know, the snake bite, of course, right? For by your sorceries were all the nations deceived, and in her was found the blood of the prophets and of the Qadashayam, my righteous peoples, and of all that were slain upon the earth, the martyrs. Hallelujah. Okay, I referred to this, and I just wanted to go over it. So Revelation 6 and verse 9, and when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of Elohim and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Yahuwah, Qadash and true? Do you not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them. And it was said unto them, They that should rest yet for a little season until their fellow servants, also their brethren, that shall be killed as they were, shall be completed. Okay? Baruk Yahuah. That's important. And let me go ahead and close with another chapter here. I could go on and on, but if you want more, all the meat's on the channel. Just go to the channel. Chapter 16, and I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 Malachim. 7 is a number of completeness in Scripture. Okay? Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of Elohim upon the earth. How long you think that they can endure with the wrath being poured out? And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sores upon Adamites, not Edomites, Adamites, which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image. Okay? This means the forehead is, they have the mind of the beast. Because you either going to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, you're going to have the mind of Yahusha, HaMashiach, and Thurah, or you're going to have the mind of the beast. You're going to think like the world and believe the bullshit of this world. Sorry, but it's true. And then the right hand is the works that we do. You're going to do the works of Aluah, you're going to guard the commandments, or are you going to do what this world does, every abomination, okay? So they can profit off it. Okay? Lovers of themselves, hard-hearted, babblers, hating the truth, loving the lie, etc., etc., etc. Worshipping his image. What does that mean? Where's all their doctrines and everything come from? Right? Hollywood, Netflix, the holly tree, it's a wand, it's spell casting. You don't know this stuff? Then ask questions and seek it out. Email me and I'll try to explain everything if you need more information, okay? But all that stuff, even going back as far as like radio, TV, magazines, newspapers, video games, okay? High-speed internet and AI, right? It's the image on steroids. In my opinion, I might be wrong, but it definitely moves and speaks like the beast. Okay. They worship the image. And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of dead Adamites. And every living soul died in the sea. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and the fountains of waters, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the waters say, You are righteous, O Yahuwah, which are, and was, and shall be, because you have judged thus, pouring out his vengeance and his wrath, okay? For they have shed the blood of the Qadashayam, your righteous peoples, and the prophets, and you have given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. Okay? And I heard another, out of the altar, even so, Yahuwah, Elohim, Sebaoth, Yahuwah, commander of armies, true and Qadash are your judgments. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch Adamites with fire. And Adam were scorched with a great heat, and blasphemed the name of Elohim, which has power over the plagues. And they repented not to give him his esteem. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was filled with the darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pangs, and blasphemed the Elohim of heaven, because their pain and their sores, and repented not of their deeds. They're sealed, they're given over. It's like Pharaoh's heart when he hardened it. Okay, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Parat, and the water thereof was dried up, and the way of the kings of the eastern sun might be prepared. Those are, man, this is the kings of Sheol. Okay, and I saw three unclean ruachoth, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the ruachoth of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day, Harmagado. Behold, I came as a thief. Baruk is he that watches and guards his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Endure, persevere, keep that oil going, family. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Abrith tongue, Harmagado, mountain of Megiddo. Okay. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, It is done. Sound familiar? Heck yeah. Heck yeah, let's go. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not seen since Adam was upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell. Great Babel came in remembrance before Yahuah. It's time for me to judge. To give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon Adamites a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And males blaspheme Yahuah because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. Baruk Yahuah. All right, guys. That's quite enough. I think it's long, and most people don't have an attention span, but fear not, right? Be not afraid. Remember that our Father has promises. Like, I will not fail to complete the work that I have begun in you. And if you know him, then you know that you know that you know that he has been transforming you, renewing you, and that there is no one else who can guard you, protect you, provide for you like he can. Don't put your amunah in horses. Don't put your amunah in bunkers. Don't put your amunah in rounds. Okay, be a tube steward, but let's try to focus on our Qadashness, guarding commandments, obeying him in every way we can. And when we fall short, then we need to cry out to him for forgiveness and ask him to give us the strength to turn away and repent from that, so that we can walk in a way that is more fitting for our calling, for where we're going, for what we are to become. Okay? The ships of Tarshish, the global economy, it's all going down. Okay? Some people are like, oh, where's Babylon? Oh, is that America? I need to migrate. I need to move to some other country. No, it isn't this way. All the kings of the earth. Okay, it's a global network, let's say, right? A cabal. And so that's not our escape. Our escape is underneath the wing of the Most High. Okay? Don't fear fiery mountains. Don't fear tropical storms. Don't fear tsunamis. Don't fear the military-industrial complex or FEMA camps or the snake bite. Any of those things. Fear Elohim, and that you reverence him, that you make him first in everything. Okay? Let me get close with Abinu's Palal. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Abinu's Palal. Yahuwah's, our Father's prayer, they call it. Abinu Bashamayam Kadash Kishamka. Malak Utka Bua Yara Uka Asha. All Aratz Khan Bashamayam Natan Lanu. Hayum At Lacham Bahat Sarak. U Salach Lanu Lachatainu Ki Lanu Salach Utam Lachataimkum Kara Lanu. U Parat Lanu Lata'ah. U Yashal Lanu Marasha La Malutka Shalut Hakahu Hakabad Bahasham Al Kalshamut. Yahuwah is Yahusha. Our Father in heaven, placed apart is your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day all the bread in our need, and forgive us for our crimes as we forgive them for their crimes against us. Lead us not astray, and rescue us from evil. For your kingdom reigns in all power and esteem, in the name that is above all names. Ahaya, Ahar, Ahaya, Yahuah, Yahusha, and another name coming that only he knows. He comes quickly. Shalom, shalom. By the power and will of Yahuwah, Yahusha, the Messiah, the one who we love him because he first loved us, right? Because while we were yet enemies at enmity with the Most High, he humbled himself, he took on flesh, he took on the role of a servant, he lived a perfect, righteous, or Qadash life. He willingly laid his life down, no one took it from him. He bore our iniquities on his body. He was impaled on a tree. He was in the tomb 3 days, and he rose again in power, in sovereignty, in majesty, in all esteem. All esteem Yahusha. Yahusha comes in the name of the Father Yahuwah. Baruk is he who comes in the name of the Most High. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. You'll also find the email in the description of all YouTube videos. So send us a message, a praise report, a prayer request. Much love.